Greetings, it's I, Tantus Naraman, your Lord and Emperor here at the Dracovin Empire once again. Welcome. We're returning to Golarion. Yes, the Pathfinder campaign's world. I never say it right, but it really is. It's the world of Pathfinder. So, as we've been touring through Golarion, I've been introducing you to the various ancestries, a little bit of their history, information on the planet, and of course, various countries. And today, we're doing another ancestry. We're going to be visiting and learning all about the Kobolds. Yes, everybody's favorite joke, in a way. I mean, like, Kobolds are oftentimes used for a little bit of comedy, but, you know, they can be definitely used for serious things, too. I think it's just the fact that a lot of their stuff they do tends to be almost comedic for the actions and behaviors that they have. And oftentimes is displayed as that in a lot of different ways. It's similar in some ways to how goblins have a little bit about that. The goblins have gained a little bit more seriousness as they've become more civilized, and honestly, the silliness of goblins oftentimes put them as an antagonist, while for kobolds, sometimes, because they could be servants of something else, that's really where they would be. On their own, not really. Kobolds aren't really an antagonist on their own. Once they're basically forced to help someone else, yeah. But that's really where it comes in. So kobolds are a little bit more unique and interesting on that end. But we'll talk about it. And perhaps that's where we should start, by diving into kobolds. Hey, messages for those of you joining me live or on YouTube. I'm going to ask you now, because I tried to remember at the beginning of the role. Have you played a kobold? What do you know about it? You know, I'm always interested in people that play a lot of these things. Well, let's talk about a couple of books that will help you out, learning some things. These are the books that I would recommend for some of the Golarion history that we've kind of put together, and culture and stuff. Playing them as a class, you'd have to look into either stuff from 1st edition or 2nd edition, depending. Playing as ancestors, I should say. So the Inner Sea World Guide provides some information. The Kobolds of Golarion is a pretty good book here. And, of course, Classic Monsters Revisited. Those would be the 3 books I could recommend to you to check out for basic information on Kobolds. There is also, 2 others I forgot to throw out here. We'll throw them out then quickly. Oh, why is that? Inner Sea Races and Monster Codex. There we go. Sorry about that. I forgot to open up those 2. My bad. Anyway, let's talk about kobolds. As I said, I use the Pathfinder Wikipedia combined with checking out these books to give you the full breadth of information. So if you want to get started, I recommend the Wikipedia. It's a lot of the same information I'm going to give there, but I will dive into some deeper a little bit of the deeper information from those books. Those are your assignments for researching deeper. You know, that's what I'm telling you. I'm like, hey, I'm giving you the basic surface level of stuff that's enough for you to get an idea about it. If you want to go deep diving, here's where you look. So, kobolds are small, they're draconic. They like to live outside of the way of where the sun is, subterranean caverns, dense woods. They're oftentimes around Andoran. They are seen inherently as cowards, and their inherent cowardice that seems to be as a society leads to a lot of them with having schemers, cleverness, ingenuity, and being masters of deadly traps. Despite these facts of their kind of a little bit of cravenness and, honestly speaking, a little bit of the way that they rely on traps, they in fact see themselves as a people as the most superior of all ancestries, of all species in Golarion. Though they all sometimes serve other powerful creatures. So it's this kind of weird catch-22 about kobolds a lot of ways. So, they are a small, they're very lizard-like, they have a short, stout nose, long, slithering tail, hands and feet sent in sharp claws, scales are a variety of colors, red, white, green, blue being the most common. Less common ones are yellow, orange, purple, gray, There are shades such as pink and gold. There are those that are known as ghost kobolds, which have translucent scales. Those are rumored to have existed, but there haven't any recorded sightings of a ghost kobold with its translucent scales in some number of centuries. So whether or not it's a old legend or they actually exist is, well, up to you sometimes. Their scales are thick, giving them some protection. They're usually about 3 feet high, 40 pounds, and despite this kind of small, diminutive size, they are very agile, quick, and can easily keep up with a human when it comes to moving along. Like a lot of creatures that do live underground, they rely on their dark vision, and they're adapted to living away from the surface, and if they do, they are sensitive to light. A kobold will go out adventuring a lot of times because they are looking for things like power, lore, treasure, anything that kind of goes to that ego of the superiority of the kobold. When something shatters a kobold's community, whether it be adventurers, tyrants, militias, these survivors will latch onto new families, kind of looking for emotional solace, sometimes looking for revenge, and that, of course, can lead to adventuring groups, latching onto new groups. Kobolds tend towards classes, bards, rangers, rogues, and sorcerers. The ingenuity kind of sometimes leads to alchemists and wizards, and that's where they kind of pertain. Especially, again, as we're talking about, like, your NPC kobolds will oftentimes kind of hit into these directions. Let me get this one so a little bit more. I'll push in the middle there. So kobolds are omnivores. They can basically eat anything that their sharp teeth can chew, and they do have a very strong digestive system. They are reptilian, so they have very slow metabolism. English, please speak with me. And they require very little food and drink to actually survive. They do have a diligent work ethic, and require very few meals or water breaks, and this kind of increases also their ability to survive in very nutrient-poor areas underground. So they work hard, they don't eat a lot, they don't drink a lot, and, it means combined together, they can survive in places where it's very difficult to find sustenance. They can take the time to do it and be successful. They lay hard-shelled eggs that incubate for a period of 45 to 60 days. After they hatch using a distinctive cranial horn buds. They're about 6 to 8 inches in height at birth, and neonatal kobolds are very quick to take care of themselves, spending the first hour after birth eating the remains of their own shells. Cannibalizing other clutch mates is not unheard of, and it is seen by adults as a sign of strength. Hatchlings go quickly, doubling in size every year until achieving juvenile status around the age of 3. And a kobold is considered adult around 10. Sexual dimorphism is very limited, and a non-kobold would have a very difficult time telling the difference between the sexes. Most kobolds are very short-lived, with a expectancy around 30 years, and because of a lot of the situations they get into, typically dying from violent means before then. However, if their lives are not cut short, they can live for actually a very long time. So that life expectancy of 30 years is, in fact, really because of their violent lifestyle. There are kobolds that claim to be up to 140 years old. So, yeah, a kobold in a very safe situation that they're not getting into violence will probably live for a very long time. A kobold will remain fertile throughout their entire lives, with females able to produce an egg once every 20 to 25 days. In an ideal condition, however, females lay a clutch of eggs of up to 6 eggs, and require coupling once every 6 years to produce viable eggs. A female will become more fecund as they age. Around 40 years old, a female may lay between 50 and 60 eggs, while an 80-year-old may be up to 100 and this is per year, I should say. So, again, It just means they can be more successful and lay more eggs over the course of years. Their bodies develop a lot more. There are times that kobolds are born with strong connections to chromatic dragons, and they are distinguished that they can breathe. Well, I was going to say breathe fire, but breathe the breath weapon of the dragon type that their scales match to. Breathe fire would be one if they're red. I really should say that. Alright. So, kobolds live in hierarchical tribes, isolated from each other and from other intelligent beings. When they encounter other various societies, they steal resources and livestock from their neighbors, and oftentimes earn reputations as thieves. They have a possessiveness when it comes to mineral resources, and it does lead them to being hostile with other beings. They view all minerals in their territory as theirs. If they discover something mining in lands they've claimed, they view them as thieves, interlopers, and will respond violently. And this holds true whether the other party settled the area before the kobolds did. So it's just a matter of, like, this is our territory now, that's our stuff, you're stealing from us. Two kobold tribes can become conflict over resources because of this, so they then typically engage in swift, violent clashes until one of their tribal's chiefs are slain, and then the other tribe is enslaved by the victorious one. Kobold settlements are usually very complex, with heavily trapped tunnels, and warrens surrounding an inner core where the tribal's living space, larders, workshops, mines are. Their eggs are kept in hidden locations, and which is kept secret from most members of the tribe in order to make sure that if one's captured, interrogated, tormented, they won't reveal it. Elderling females are also hidden in the deepest parts of the warren and fiercely protected, as a lot of tribes rely on their ability to lay many eggs in a short period of time to maintain the number of tribe mates, because again, kobolds die a lot. They don't farm crops, but they do keep domestic animals for a variety of purposes. Dire weasels tend to be one of them. They're kept as guards and hunting animals, similar to dogs are used for humans. Dire boars are kept for war animals and mounts. When moving underground, kobolds will use slurks, giant ants as mounts. Giant ants can be also used as pack animals, and a source for poison for traps. Bats can be trained to carry messengers, which tribes can use to contact with one another, especially if they are on good terms. Boulets have occasionally been trained for mining and tunneling operations. There are kobold myths that actually say they were the first to domesticate and raise animals, which they foolishly taught to humans. Again, kobold superiority that you're seeing there. There is a group of kobolds that are different than subterranean ones, the forest kobolds. They do live separately in existence from the ones that are most well known, inhabiting deep forests. They are a little bit more barbaric than their kin, very literate. They live very predatory lifestyles focused on hunting, eating non-reptilian entities they encounter. They're typically green, and forest tribes are known to ally with quickwoods to help defend their lairs. So, kobolds speak a language. They speak Draconic, the language of their ancient forebears. Educated or well-traveled kobolds will speak the tongues of whatever their homeland is, common, undercommon, depending on what region they are in, and also the languages of their most frequent of opponents, which tend to be dwarves and gnomes. And that's one of those things is, kobolds have some ancestral enemies. Dwarves, gnomes, cave giants, rock trolls, goblins, purple worms. Kobolds get into fights with a lot of different groups. Kobolds that typically worship dragon gods, such as Apsu and Dahak. There are those that worship Asmodeus, due to the emphasis on his faith of tyranny and subjugation. and they oftentimes seek to model their own tribe society after the hierarchy of hell. The infernal priests are considered influential, advising chieftain, leading other tribes in their own rights. Some worship Mashtu and other powerful fiends, such as the Archdevil Mammon, Demon Lord, I'm going to butcher this, Andrif Ku. Butcher that a little bit. Occasionally, a kobold affected by Brightburn radiation are known to turn their worship to the Archdemon Trelmariex. And if you do not know about Brightburn radiation, it is part of something from the Darklands. And it's giant stones that produce the effect. And it's a hazard, so they can be affected by that and worship it. Kobold spellcasters are known to worship Nethys, typically placing emphasis on the all-seeing eye nature, rather than the ability to use magic to impose one's will on the external world. They also worship dragons themselves, seeing them as all-powerful entities or ancestral deities, living gods. This can occur through the worship of a individual dragon that lives, that's living in or near to the territory of a tribe, though there can also be worshipping dragon kind as a kind of just whole. And either or, dragons are the living embodiment of might and power of Dahak, and this is despite the dragon's hatred of the deity. So, yes. Dahak being the evil dragon god, and Apsu being the good dragon god. So, again, you can have kobolds that tend to be worshipping a good deity too, with Apsu and Dahak. So, yeah. Where did the kobolds come from? It depends on the tribe, honestly. There are 3 main stories, and depending on the tribe that you meet across Flat and Golarion, depends on which version of one of these stories exists as. The Third Brood claims that kobolds were made by the Tronic god Apsu from the dying spirits of chromatic and metallic dragons that his son Dahak had brought down. Their life essence faded to only a little flame. Apsu feared it was not strong enough to save them from death, so he brought them back in their true form. If he brought them back in their true form, instead he reincarnated them into their spirits into smaller kobold bodies. Again, chromatic dragons don't even worship Dahak. Put that. No, some do. Particularly chromatic dragons do. But Dahak was very anti-all. It's a story of deities. We're not getting any passionate. So the idea is, things happen. The third type of dragon that would have existed, became the kobolds. There's also the Tears of Dahak, which is a myth that tells kobolds were born from Dahak's tears of shame after he defeated his father Apsu in battle. The tears had many colors as they hit the earth, each transforming into a different color kobold. And the third story is the Firstborn, which is kind of the grandest of all kobold creation myths. That claims kobolds were the first created during the Age of Creation. They were parceled away deep in the earth. When Dahak went on his legendary orgy of destruction, the kobolds became curious, tunneled to the surface. When Dahak saw them, he transformed some of them into the first dragons. Those he left behind could not find their way back to the earth and have stayed near the surface ever since. Again, where the exact origin of kobolds lie with any of these, it's all very grandiose and hard to say. So there are a lot of tribes of kobolds, and I'm not going to dive into particularly all the different tribes that we have. That would take a while, and it's not really needed. But we're going to talk about a number of regions and the tribes that exist with those regions where you find kobolds. Of course, Absalom has the Sewer Dragon tribe, who are very sophisticated kobolds, allied with the Blue Dragon, Lyrovelix. That's dwelt beneath the city of Absalom since 4696. They've attempted to force tribute from outsiders and expand their sewer empire. There aggression has been resolved with a formal alliance with the Pathfinder Society. So, like, they were connected with this dragon, and effectively, the Pathfinder Society has made good with Absalom and the tribe of kobolds that live beneath them. And this guy here is a Nixret picture I've got, which is a Pathfinder Society initiate of the Sewer Dragon tribe. So, yeah. So they're pretty sophisticated. The Hook Claw clan also lives in the city for countless generations. Not as well established, not as successful as powerful as the Sewer Dragons. In Andoran, in the Candlestone Caverns, there's the Black Claw tribe. There's also a number of smaller tribes that owe fealty to the Black Claws. They are culturally associated with poison, employing traps and coming-of-age rituals where kobolds will soak their hands in a bowl of spider venom, permanently staining them black. There are also some kobold tribes in Darkmoon Vale of Andorra who favor using the Flying Talon in combat, which is a chain weapon. In Cheliax, there are those that live in the sewers of the Cheliax city of Vir, where they will menace anybody that kind of travels into the sewers. In Medigalti Island, there's the Thunderscale tribe, which is the largest of kobold tribes that lives in the jungles there. They also make their home in a vast network of caves, known as the Thunderscale Warrens, and they have a habit of painting their scales with bright plant dyes. Rather than worshipping dragons, like most other kobold societies do, they revere dinosaurs. But they're in an area where dinosaurs live. In the realm of the Mammoth Lords is the Ice Render tribe, which is a tribe that live in the pass of the Tusk Mountains. They work tirelessly to keep the pass open. A lot of caravans use that pass in order to avoid the attacks of Lindek the White in the south. Lindek the White being a powerful adult white dragon. So the kobold spears radically attack and loot caravans and then dispose of the remains of them. And a large part of the loot that they obtain is given to Lindek as tribute. So it's a safer route because you have to deal with the kobolds rather than the white dragon. But if you do get looted, it's probably going to end up with the white dragon. In the River Kingdoms, on the border between the Stolen Lands and Bravery, is the Soot Scale tribe. They dwell in the Silver Caverns, which is an abandoned silver mine at the foothill of the Icemere Peaks. And they have a petty war with the mites that inhabit the area. And they have the practice of changing their tribe's name dependent on the leader. You can actually intervene in the battle between the two of them in the Pathfinder Kingmaker game. They actually have that. I killed both of them. In the Shackles on Raptor Island is the Dankblade crew. They're a troop of kobold records who lure passing ships on the rocks of islands, sacking once they run aground, selling their crews to the slaver ship Kraken's Tooth. The treasures they get in those raids are given to the dragon Machimzamon, win favor and patronage. And in Varisia, there's the Ember Maul clan, which lives in Mindspire Mountains above a few Warrens. They're aligned with the dragon Sazgetherix, who protects them from fire giants that live nearby. And they've resorted to pushing the Salamander and Azer clans of the Warrens into attacking the Kobolds instead, to basically avoid the wrath of the big old dragon. So that's a lot of regions and some pretty large kobold tribes, but if you want to look into them and other kobold tribes, I can give you a couple, what's the other names? I said Blackclaw, Flame Torrent tribe, Sewer Dragon tribe, Thunderscale tribe, True Scale kobolds, Yoaxi tribe, the Ice Render tribe, Red Clover tribe, I said Sewer Dragon tribe, Swift Scale tribe. I think that's all the tribes that I can kind of throw out here for now. So, yes. That is a, those are the other groups you might want to look into if you want to research some other tribes and stuff related to kobolds. But, yeah, that's kobolds. That's it. That's the best we can say about kobolds. I mean, kobolds are interesting little creatures. Big hearts, big everything. Again, it's the idea that they see themselves in a way as superior. They look at themselves as being these powerful creatures. And yeah, they might serve something like a dragon as a master, but they serve that dragon because it's an ancestor spirit. And yeah, they have gone into conflict with other sentient creatures, but they don't really go out of their way. As far as kobolds might. But your average subterranean kobold's not really going to go out of their way. They're going to take things because they think they deserve the right to it, or they might attack you because they think you're doing something in their territory, especially things like mining. And, you know, it's a matter of thought. It goes to show you how they are able to be pretty much exist within societies and with the Golarion society as a whole, as you can see when I described, of course, the Sewer Dragon tribe. They are the best example of a tribe that exists in their old ways in a way, but, you know, have still connected with a country and are kind of connected with it in a way. Their skills are sought after in Absalom. They are connected and allied with the Pathfinder society of the city. And, you know, it's just this matter of they were a threat and made not a threat peacefully. And it can go to show you that, you know, kobolds can be worked with peacefully. And yes, goblins are improving and getting to that point in time. Many other of the more violent species of humanoids or intelligent creatures on Golarion do improve. They can improve. But kobolds are kind of been on that border forever. Yeah, if they're serving a red dragon or a white dragon or a blue dragon or a green dragon or a black dragon, maybe they're not going to be doing great things because the dragon doesn't do great things. But it's really the dragon that's behind it all, and they just do what they're told. On their own, they develop something. And it's all about family and surviving in areas that are honestly really hard to survive. That's where they make do. It's an adaptation that makes them able to survive. That they find these niches that they exist in and can just keep their tribe going. No matter what kind of dangers threaten or crush or kill them. It's a hardiness that exists within their spirit, if not in their bodies. An impressive hardiness. And a sense of strength that is impressive. Probably amongst a lot of species. And it just makes kobolds not only interesting, but fun. And, you know, again, whether or not you want to think that they could be the superior race amongst all of the species in Golarion, they're probably not. But you're never going to convince one of them they're not. It's just deep inside. But that's going to be it for today. I thank you for joining me. I hope you learned a little bit about kobolds in Golarion, and what it means a little bit more to play a kobold rather than just play it. As I said before, if you're joining me either live on Twitch or YouTube, hey, let me know about your kobold characters you might have played, or maybe kobold NPCs you could found. Certainly, I've had plenty of I haven't played a kobold personally, but I've had some friends of mine that have played them, and I've had some kobold NPCs in various places that have been really fun over the years. If you're joining me live on Twitch, hey, hi Twitch. Follow would be great. That's a great way of supporting the channel here if you're joining me on YouTube. Both of them at the Dracovin Empire. Giving a subscription there, a like to the video. As I said, the comment before, ring the bell if you're already subscribers so you get more notifications. Great way to engage with me. I do have some social media. You can check out my Twitter.com or my Discord. I give, you know, what my schedule is, little updates, occasional pictures of strange things I find in animals and nature. That's about it. If you're looking for more tabletop-related content, if you're joining me on the YouTube side, hey, it comes up after I stream it on Twitch. usually a few days later. A day or two later. So, the Twitch schedule for tabletop-related stuff is Tuesdays, Thursdays, early afternoon, usually starting between 1 and 2, sometimes a little earlier, sometimes a little later, and Saturdays on around 11. Though that can, again, vary depending on what's going on for my schedule those days. And if you're looking for Pathfinder stuff, usually on Thursday streams. I do have a show which goes on Wednesdays. As of the streaming and recording of this episode, about to be the finale, but there's a shot to see, so hey, check that out. We will do another Game of Place afterwards on Wednesdays. For now, I'll give that little shout out there. Whether or not it's been on or not, I'd say go remember, check out that entire series. It was a great Pathfinder first edition game. Discussing tabletops nearly every Saturday at 6 p.m. in the evening. Talk about tabletop news of the week, deep discussions on topics related to the TTRPG and tabletop world. Anyway, I think that's all the things to shout out, all the information you need to know. Keep you abreast of everything. Hey, I'm glad everybody's here joining me. I'm glad you enjoy these videos. I hope you learn a lot. And again, like, I want you to learn more and enjoy more. And I'm just trying to wet your whistle into doing it. And I can tell you everything till the cows come home. But, it's a little bit of, I can teach you some basics and let you then just dive into the topics as a whole. I just want you to enjoy and learn about these really cool bits of lore and stuff. Until the next time I see all of you out there, though, I'm going to give you a wonderful, heartfelt goodbye and bid you all farewell.